Hello and welcome to Catholic Kickstarter. My name is Stephen Fleming and you're very welcome to today's show. And today's show, we're talking about God's love. Why is God love? So why would you say God is love, Anthony?
Well, I think God is love, and I think the Trinity gives us a perfect example of that. When talking about the Trinity, if you look into Jesus' baptism, for example, that's a perfect example of God's love shown publicly. When Jesus was baptized, we see an account of in Matthew's, I believe it's in Matthew's chapter 3, I think. In Matthew chapter 3, yeah. So in chapter 3, we see an account of the Holy Spirit, the Trinity there itself, with God the Father there being that loud voice. We see the Holy Spirit come in the form of a dove, and we see Jesus himself, the second person of the Trinity. And what God says there is so important. He says, this is my son whom I love with him, and I am well pleased. And so that Jesus himself publicly establishes this love relationship between him as the Father and the Son. And I just want to also remind you guys that when we all get baptized, this is happening in our baptism too. Jesus, God, he's above you, and when you get baptized, he's saying to you, if I use Stephen as example, this is Steve, my beloved son, who I am well pleased with. And so this love relationship is also established in our baptism. And so God is love in that aspect. Through the sacrament of baptism, he is love because he's establishing this relationship of love, coming from him first, not us first. It comes from God. And then we respond to this love, this invitation of love, which he proposes.
That's amazing. It really is. And I suppose I once heard an analogy of the Trinity, and it was talking about the perfect, I suppose, human example, the closest that we could possibly get is the family, because you have the father and the mother, and the love between them is the child. And in a similar way, but not the same, definitely not. But you have the father and the son, and the love between them is the Spirit, and you've got that Trinity. And I think that is really, really cool. Those things, yeah. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And when we in our families, sometimes when in my family especially, I grew up in a very loving family, and sometimes I see the sacrifices that my parents have made for me. For getting this seminary itself was quite a sacrifice for my family. Being the oldest son, in my culture, as being the oldest son, I'm the one that's sort of expected to carry the family name, and I'm the one that's expected to basically look after the family. That's sort of the responsibility that is given to the oldest child of the family. But being in my parents allowed me to pursue this vocation, and they knew the sacrifice that was coming. That I wouldn't be able to carry the family. I wouldn't be able to look after it as well as I can if I was married. But so I think that was that kind of showed me how much they loved me, that they were willing, to let me go to pursue this vocation, knowing, that it's not very much according to the cultural means. But that showed me, that love, that sacrifice. I think that sacrificial aspect is so important when it comes to showing that love. And when we talk about God is love, we see him sacrifice his only beloved son. He says in the baptism, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." But then we see later on in the passion that he sacrifices his only beloved son. And there is no greater love than that, is there?
No, absolutely. And that's that is one of the awesome things for God. I think he shows his love right from the very beginning and all the way through.